Today is Friday, March 21st, 2025. This is the 47 Daily Podcast. My name is Mark Kaye. Promises made, promises kept. President Donald Trump yesterday surrounded by students who were really happy because now the federal government is out of their education. Dissolved the Department of Education, or rather signed an executive order giving Linda McMahon, the Secretary of Education, the power to begin to dismantle the Department of Education, which of course will be met with legal challenges from the left, I'm sure. But President Donald Trump said, look, this is something that is long overdue. And today I'm going to take this historic action that no one else has had the chutzpah to do.
Today we take a very historic action that was 45 years in the making. In a few moments, I will sign an executive order to begin eliminating the Federal Department of Education once and for all.
And of course, he was surrounded by young students who were pure. I guess they were brought around from all over, and they sat in little desks. And Donald Trump signed his order, and they all signed their orders, and it was amazing. It was an amazing moment that everybody enjoyed. But also, it was something that, as President Trump said, was long overdue and necessary for the continued evolution and for the continued prosperity of the United States of America. Because didn't nobody waste money like the Department of Education?
But the department's useful functions and such as, and they're in charge of them. Pell Grants, Title I funding, resources for children with disabilities and special needs will be preserved, fully preserved. They're all going to be so. If you look at the Pell Grants, supposed to be a very good program, Title I funding and resources for children with special disabilities and special needs. They're going to be preserved in full and redistributed to various other agencies and departments that will take very good care of them. And that's very important to Linda, I know, and it's very important to all of us. But beyond these core necessities, my administration will take all lawful steps to shut down the department. We're going to shut it down and shut it down as quickly as possible. It's doing us no good. We want to return our students to the states where just some of the governors here are so happy about this. They want education to come back to them, to come back to the states, and they're going to do a phenomenal job.
And he's, of course, pointing to Governor Ron DeSantis, who's the governor of Florida, which was just recently ranked #1 in education. Also, Governor Greg Abbott from Texas, with a bunch of governors were there, and they were thrilled at the prospect of having the education returned to the states as it should be. And in fact, in some states, they even go farther and they give education to the county level so that each individual school can now, instead of being federalized under one system and with information and data and statistics that have been accumulated for the entire nation, can now specifically hone in on the needs and the desires and the actions that will best suit individual students, not just in individual states, but in cities and even neighborhoods, and really give them a microscopic look at the needs of these kids and custom tailor an education that is well suited to each individual student. Of course, the other exciting thing about this is that the states get all of the power to decide the curriculum, the time that school starts, the length that kids go to school, whether or not they go to school year round. It's really going to be a compelling program that's going to have a massive benefit for every student, every parent, and then, of course, every citizen of the United States of America.
We're going to be returning education very simply back to the states where it belongs, and this is a very popular thing to do, but much more importantly, it's a common sense thing to do, and it's going to work. Absolutely, it's going to work, and I can tell you from dealing with the governors and others in the state, they want it so badly. They want to take their children back and really teach their children individually. Probably the cost will be half, and the education will be maybe many, many times better. So we look forward to this.
Many, many times better. I mean, one time better would be an improvement from where we are, because Donald Trump, he'll be the first one to tell you that we are far behind, that we are outspending and under delivering on our children's education. Each individual child, we spend more money per child per capita than any other country. Yet when you look at the results that we're getting at the other end, they are subpar, to say the least.
After 45 years, the United States spends more money on education by far than any other country, and spends likewise by far more money per pupil than any country, and it's not even close. But yet we rank near the bottom of the list in terms of success. It's an amazing stat. Those are two stats you don't want. The most money spent per pupil, and you're at the bottom of the list. And that's where we are, like it or not. And we've been there for a long time. 70% of eighth graders are not proficient in either reading or in math. 70%. 40% of fourth graders lack even basic reading skills, can't read. Students in our public elementary and middle schools score worse in reading today than when the department opened, by a lot. In Baltimore, 40% of the high schools have 0 students who can do basic mathematics. Not even the very simplest of mathematics. I said, give me your definition of basic, and they're talking about like adding a few numbers together. Despite these breathtaking failures, the department's discretionary budget has exploded by 600% in a very short period of time, and it employs bureaucrats in buildings all over Washington, D.C. And as a former real estate person, I will tell you, I ride through the streets of Washington and it says Department of Education, Department of Education. I said, how do you fill those buildings? It's crazy what's happened over the years.
I love that Donald Trump always goes back to his real estate roots. Yeah, you know, not only are we spending too much money per student and not getting the result that we need, not only are our test scores so low, not only can 40% of these kids in Baltimore not add a simple column of numbers, but look at all the wasted prime real estate on Constitution Avenue. We got to do something about that quick. Well, you know what? We could turn these into condominiums or office parks, and man, we could make a mint. And that's something that Donald Trump, probably will begin to do, privatize some of these government buildings, or at least rent them out, because the space is being wasted, much like everything else in the federal government. And so President Donald Trump said, look, this is over. But the attacks from the left continue. And of course, their big attack is Donald Trump is going to hurt teachers. The teachers are going to get fired. The teachers are going to get demonetized and dozed. Well, I mean, only the bad ones. And in fact, a merit-based system is what Donald Trump has been looking for, what a lot of people have been looking for, and really what a lot of teachers have been looking for as well. A lot of really good qualified teachers who get their kids prepared for life are not incentive or merit-based. And wouldn't they be a lot happier and working a lot harder if they were?
I want to just make one little personal statement. Teachers, to me, are among the most important people in this country. And we're going to take care of our teachers. And I don't care if they're in the union or not in the union. That doesn't matter. But we're going to take care of our teachers. And I believe the states will take actually better care of them than they are taken care of right now. They'll work all sorts of systems and even merit systems. Those great teachers are going to be maybe a little bit better rewarded, or maybe that's the way it should be. But the states are going to make that decision. But we're going to love and cherish our teachers along with our children, and they're going to work with the parents, and they're going to work with everybody else. And it's going to be an amazing thing to watch, and it's really going to be something special. And
what Donald Trump is doing with this announcement to dismantle the Department of Education is he is basically giving 50 different states 50 different opportunities to create 50 different education systems. And along with that comes an incentivization and merit-based program for teachers. So if one state says, hey, we want the best teachers, they're going to come up with some kind of compensatory package, or they're going to come up with some kind of signing bonus, and they're going to go out there and they're going to advertise and market and recruit the best teachers to bring to their state. And as a result, they're going to have the best educated students. And then what's going to happen is the other states that are falling behind are going to say, wait a minute, we want to be competitive too. We're going to increase the compensatory package for teachers. We're going to offer signing bonuses and incentives for merit and for performance. And then all of a sudden you have what's known in the capitalist societies as competition. And competition is when you see salaries rise and the best of the best get rewarded in a way that they don't get rewarded in other economic communities. So this is really an exciting way to not privatize education, but make it almost as private as possible. So now if Florida or Texas or Georgia or any other state wants to, have voucher systems or anything else, they can incorporate it in and of themselves. And all they have to worry about is passing their own state legislature. And the school systems that continue down this course of wasteful spending, of tossing money at bureaucrats, of overinflated waste, fraud, and abuse in their education system are going to continue to spend a lot of money and not have the results that they were hoping for. And those states will eventually fall behind. And either that will cause people to relocate geographically, vote with their feet, or it will cause them to vote at the ballot box for people that are going to pay more attention to the education of their children, thus rising it to the high standard that these other states are going to. It's really, look, it's real. I haven't been this excited about education since I graduated from high school and realized I never had to go to school again. But it is something that was very exciting, and you can sense the excitement when Donald Trump sat down at his little desk surrounded by American students and signed the order. There's his iconic signature. He holds it up. My favorite part was that the other students were signing their own executive orders, and the other students got to hold up theirs. I don't know who came up with this whole theatrical idea, but it's genius, and they should be rewarded, because having all the kids hold up their little executive orders, I think that was genius. By the way, on a side note, I would just like to say it's great to see that we have a president again that can be around little children without being, let's just say creepy and or disturbing. I mean, Donald Trump has been around kids lots of times, and we never once see any footage of him biting a kid's foot or nibbling on a child's knee or nuzzling a kid's neck or saying inappropriate things to the child's mother. It just doesn't happen. And I think it makes the entire country feel better that we have a president that we can trust with our children. I can't say that about all of the last presidents we've had in the last, well, say, 4 years or so. Linda McMahon, who is President Donald Trump's Secretary of Education for now, was basically doged live on television, but she couldn't have been happier. Look, there she is hugging the president saying thank you so much. And she has now been given the task of dismantling the Department of Education. She has now been given the task of saying, okay, here's where I work. I'm going to rip it to shreds and take a bulldozer to this place. And we're going to do it in the fastest and the most legal way possible. Of course, she understands that there will be some legal challenges, of course, and this is not going to be an easy road because the Democrats and the unions and Congress and the Senate are all going to have their say. And even though Donald Trump has signed the order, there's going to be a battle brewing. I mean, I'm sure there's already briefs that have been filed.
I can tell you we know that the task ahead certainly has some hurdles. But what my desire is, and what I'm going to be working to do, is to work in conjunction with Congress. I think if we can show them that the best plan is to have states in control of education for their communities, for their students, for their teachers, for their parents, that is the best thing, because the president believes, as do I, that the best education is closest to the student, and we can accomplish that by having it operate out of the state and not trying to manage it from Washington, D.C., which clearly, Brett, that hasn't worked. The Department of Education was set up in 1980 by President Carter. We've spent almost $3 trillion. We've seen our scores continue to decline. We're doing something wrong. We need to change.
And that is, of course, the understatement of the year. But working with Congress, it should not be too much of a problem. It's going to be the court systems and the legal battles that they face, I think, that are going to be more the speed bumps and the road bumps. But Congress there's a lot of supporters in the Congress for state-supported education and the dismantling of the Department of Education, as Donald Trump did yesterday. Thomas Massie has been trying to get it done for years. And while Thomas Massie is no fan of Donald Trump and vice versa, this is something that the two can wholeheartedly agree on. With the slim majority in the House of Representatives, this is something that Mike Johnson should be able to push through pretty quickly. However, you never know. There's always those stalwarts and those holdouts. And then, of course, you never know, again, what's going to happen in the Senate. But Linda McMahon says, look, we need to do this because the regulations have been destroying our children.
Well, I think that's been the president's, hue and cry. He said we are spending more money per pupil than any country in the world, and we're seeing less results. That's a clear indicator that we are not doing the best thing we can do for our students. I do think returning to basics is the best way to do it. We need to teach math and English and literacy and writing. We don't need to teach ideology. We have to let teachers teach. have such respect for our teachers. I think it is the most noble profession in the world, and I have seen what can happen when teachers are allowed to teach and to be innovative and be creative in their classrooms. You know, Brett, for every dollar that goes into the school system, the federal funding, it's been reported to me that almost 47 cents of that dollar is spent in regulatory compliance. Teachers, they don't want to stay. They're leaving the profession because they are bogged down by regulation. Let's lift that burden and let them do what they do best, which is teach.
Deregulate education. Regulation is the death knell for really any good, and really good, any good cause. The more you regulate something, the less people want to deal with it and the less you get done. And 47 cents per dollar going to regulation just shows once again the waste, fraud, and abuse that we've seen in every aspect of the government. Speaking of waste, fraud, and abuse in every aspect of the government, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, was on television yesterday, and I believe he's on with Laura Ingraham, and he was talking about the Social Security system and, of course, the legal challenges and the judges that are now stopping DOJ from going in and trying to figure out where the waste, fraud, and abuse is with the Social Security system so that they can make sure the money's going to people who, A, deserve it, and B, are still alive. And, of course, the Democrats hate that. They want all the dead people to keep getting the money because, well, let's face it, they're the ones cashing the checks. But he says we need to run this, just like everything else in our government, much more efficiently.
The consultants, the Democrats, mainstream media, they just want to blow this project out of the water. And it's important because I keep saying this is the opposite of government efficiency, not elimination, not extinction. Sam and his crew are making it more efficient to work for the American people. So what's wrong with it working better, cheaper, faster, and with more privacy?
Well, because there's less money being spent, and the Democrats, their favorite thing to do is to spend money. We have some good news, by the way, when it comes to spending money. If you're buying eggs, if you're making omelets, if you're cooking up a souffle or I don't know, some kind of meringue. I don't even know what I don't know what you guys are using your eggs for. Maybe you're just excited to fry up a good old-fashioned American breakfast or scramble a couple eggs for your family. Egg prices are way down once again. And Brooke Rollins, the Secretary of Education, has another handy-dandy chart to show that.
I have another handy-dandy chart for everyone, a different one than I had before. But this is, you can see the rise of eggs, right, up until here. This is when we rolled out the plan 3 or 4 weeks ago with President Trump's vision and his task of me. And then you can see, to your point, a 53% drop in just those few weeks. Listen, we rolled out a bold plan. A lot of people thought it was perhaps too bold. We looked at repopulation of the chickens. We looked at biosecurity. We looked at the importation for the short term of eggs from other countries. We looked at the long term, how we're going to solve this problem of the avian bird flu. And at the end of the day, the market reacted to that. They knew that there was leadership that was fearless and bold, that the team at USDA and across the White House that helped us build this plan, that it works.
It does work, and it is working, and the egg prices are coming down, and it's all thanks to Brooke Rollins, Donald Trump, and their massive plan for chicken repopulation, which look, for anybody that doubted Donald Trump bringing down egg prices, the yoke's on you. Sorry, I probably should have avoided that joke at all costs. Listen, there's so much more that we have to talk about, and we will talk about today. There's a lot of other news, not directly related to the White House, not directly coming out of Donald Trump's mouth, but there is stuff that you need to know about, and I cover all of that in my very entertaining and informative second daily podcast, Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. Mark Kaye Saves the Republic is available live on YouTube and Rumble and X and Facebook, and we do that every day at noon, or you can simply listen to the podcast by going to your favorite podcast provider, searching Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, download, listen, and enjoy.